But thank you. Um, so as we embark on this 8-week journey, first off, I would like to acknowledge the staff that is on this call that is going to be providing the support during these sessions. As Supervisor Stork said, I wanted to thank Katina Matthews, a community developer, along with Nandra Navarro, Paul Woods, Jennifer Henry Jones, also community developers. I wanted to thank Solomon Melson and Tori Piper, who are the operations managers. I want to thank Leon Milkins, Jacob Berenbroik, Crystal Woodley, who's our service area manager, and Robert O'Quinn, who's our technology manager. I definitely want to highlight my regional manager colleagues, Karen Demihango, Keisha Gill, and Norma Lopez, and definitely our division director, Palace Washington. I'm now going to turn it over to Katina, who's going to get us started, kick this show off, and provide us an overview of our neighborhood college.
Thanks, Latishma, and thank you to everyone on the call. Thank you, Supervisor Stork and his staff, as well as our colleagues from NCS and all of you. Hopefully you have the opportunity to review all of my wonderful emails that I send you. I want to make sure that we stay in communication with you, which is also part of community engagement, and allow you the opportunity to see the work that goes behind the scenes in regards to how we prepare and plan for this wonderful neighborhood college. Tori, if you can just excel to agenda. From Supervisor Stork. So just really quickly tonight, we just wanted to make sure that you, along with what I attached in the previous email in regards to an agenda, we've already heard our welcoming remarks. I'm getting ready to review our neighborhood college, what it entails. I have our colleague to also talk more about the practicum, the wonderful presentations that we are asking of each participant. And then we are going through our first session of community engagement and leadership development, which will include an icebreaker. We have a wonderful presentation of our Fairfax County government by our Division Director of Neighborhood Community Services. And then we have another activity or exercise to present to you tonight on leadership styles. And then we will wrap up. Next slide. Next slide, keep going to the next one. There we go. So Fairfax County Neighborhood College, it is a free 8-session civic engagement program open to Mount Vernon District residents interested in learning about Fairfax County and the Mount Vernon District. We'll explore how to work with neighbors, community organizations, and local government to strengthen neighborhoods and build community capacity. It's an excellent leadership program for residents who serve as officers on their homeowners or civic association board. So with this platform, we will have a lot of interaction, whether it's through chat, whether it's through, of course, the practicum presentations, as well as with myself, but also through group discussions. We will have some breakout rooms later on in the sessions. We also will be having different county agencies come, and also identified organizations outside of the county that will come in to give their overview and structure of their organization, as well as opportunities to where you can become engaged as a community resident. It also, through this platform, like I said, we'll be doing some community engagement leadership exercises to help strengthen opportunities for you to make an impact within your community or the civic or advisory board that you may serve on, or that you may intend or have interest to serve on. And also opportunities to how we can work effectively with diverse neighborhoods and community. With that being said, I now want to pass it over to the next slide, and Mr. Latishma Walters will just go over some housekeeping items with you.
Thanks, Katina. So a few housekeeping rules. We want to value everyone's time. You are spending your evening with us, so we're asking that you be on time so that we can end on time. We definitely would love to be engaged. So if you have the capacity, or the capability, actually, if you can turn your cameras on, we're asking that you be present and engage and mute yourself when you're not talking, which I'm gonna have to remember to do that. Enjoy a beverage, but hold off eating while you're on camera. Be mindful of the background noise and distractions around you as much as possible. We're asking that you focus your attention on the class so to avoid multitasking. We're asking that you're considerate of everyone speaking and not talking over others. And as we engage in these 8 weeks and have conversation and dialogue, we're asking that the comments and discussions be respectful of the presenter and the fellow students. And it's okay to disagree, but definitely not okay to have personal attacks. We're asking that you raise your hand in a Zoom meeting. Click the raise hand icon, and the hand icon will appear next to your name. That will notify your host, and we're going to be looking out to ensure that we call on everyone whose hands are raised. To make a comment or ask a question, click the chat button icon and use a drop down arrow to choose to send a message to everyone or to a specific person. And again, we're just asking you to enjoy the time that you have with us. We're going to be spending 8 weeks together, and we are definitely looking forward to it, and we want to provide the best experience for you. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Henry Jones, who is going to talk about the neighborhood college practicum and just give an overview and expectations. Jen?
Hi, everyone. I am Jennifer Henry Jones. And first, I just want to commend all of you for being here and committing yourselves to 8 weeks of learning. All of my colleagues will tell you that neighborhood college is one of my favorite things, and one of the things I think one of the many things NCS excels at. So commend to all of you for being here and to enhancing your leadership skills and to helping strengthen your communities. So as part of the requirements, one of the requirements for graduation from neighborhood college is completing a practicum or a field assignment. And that's simply a brief presentation where you will go through a new experience or plan out something for your community, and you're going to present it to your fellow participants. So you can work as an individual, or you can work in a group up to 5 people. We just ask that you spend at least 4 to 6 hours working together on this project. We want you to experience something new, so we don't want you to do something that you've done before. So if you've gone to a board meeting, we don't want you to go to a board of supervisors meeting. We want you to make sure that you're doing something new, that you're experiencing that newly, and that you can then come and share that new experience with your colleagues. And you're allowed to be as creative as you want to with your 5-minute presentations. We've had people simply just speak from a piece of paper and talk about their experience. We've had people put on full-on plays in 5 minutes. So however creative you want to, you can use PowerPoint. We'll help you. You can talk to Katina about the tools that you would need, and we'll see what we can do to help support that. Let's see. So we asked that we are going to give you a list of practicums that you can choose from, which are more experiences. And you are free to choose any of those. We don't want people doing the same thing. So we asked that you would get back to Katina by April 29th with your selection, so that she can make sure that everyone is doing something different. Could I have the next slide, please? So we will give you some questions, starter questions, if you choose to do an experience of figuring out how to access that organization. We will help you make the connections, point in the directions of resources, information, to make sure that you have everything that you need to do your practicum presentation. Again, it is going to be 5 to 7 minutes where you'll describe your experience in whatever creative way that you see fit. Some questions that we want you to consider would be: what is the purpose of your project? Who can join you in your efforts? What's entailed? What programs or activities do they sponsor? What's the culture of the organization? Who are the stakeholders? What are the resources? Has this been done in another part of the county where you could perhaps talk to someone and find out what worked well, what didn't work well? So we will help you formulate those questions as well. And the presentations are scheduled to take place during the last session of Neighborhood College. Next slide, please. So the next 2 slides have examples of more experiences. So if you want to go to a Mount Vernon Council Citizens Association meeting, as I mentioned before, going to a Board of Supervisors meeting, learning the court system, visiting the animal shelter, those are all experiences. But some of you may be here because there is a particular issue in your community that you want to address, and you could put together a plan of how you are going to go about addressing that issue using all the information that you've learned over the 8 weeks. And again, Katina, as well as my colleagues, will help you if you choose to do that type of practicum. An example of that would be, some of you may be familiar with HealthWorks in Herndon. That that entity was actually born out of a neighborhood college practicum. There was, I can't remember the name of the student who was who did the practicum, but she had was concerned about immigrant families who lived in Herndon, didn't have access to diabetes and high blood pressure information and medication. And so after taking neighborhood college, she came up with a plan, identified resource that would help her be able to establish what became the Herndon Free Health Clinic. And from there, it's blossomed to the Jeannie Schmidt Free Clinic, and now it's the Herndon. Herndon Health Works. So you never know where these practicums can go. So with that, I will pass on to the next speaker. And I'll be here throughout the weeks to help anyone with their practicums as well with Katina. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, next slide, please. All right, so now's the opportunity. Now's the opportunity to where we can get to know who's actually participants of Neighborhood College. So with this icebreaker, we're asking that you please introduce yourself with your name. Tell us what community you live in, or some of you may just serve in a particular community. And then give us one word that describes your community. With that one word, we do have a special thing that we will be compiling, and we will show you next week. But we're asking for your name, what community you live in, and one word that describes your community. And Tori, you can take us out of the slide so that way we can be in gallery. And for those of you who don't know, at the top right of your screen where it says view, you can always change how what the gallery looks like. You can choose gallery to where everyone's on the screen at the same time. And then again, we do have the chat feature, but we're going to take you off mute, and then we're going to ask you, and we're going to go down the list of who is our participants for this evening. So I will go in order as I see your name, and then we will, and maybe in alphabetical order, I'm not sure, so I do apologize. All right, Tori, we can take off mute one at a time, or if I call it out. So first we have, and I'm familiar with this person, we have Helen Moman. Miss Helen, are you there?
Helen Moman. Yes, I am. Okay. I didn't read the screen.
It's okay. Your name, your community, and one word that describes your community.
My name is Helen Moman, and I live in the community I work with is Gum Springs Community Center. And I work I enjoy being with the seniors and at Gum Springs Community Center.
All right, thank you, Miss Helen. Yes, ma'am, I did. Thank you. All right, next we have Alicia Doe, which is wonderful to see you, Alicia.
Hi, yes, my name is Alicia Doe. I am in the community of Lorton. The one word that describe my community, and when I say community, I mean Fairfax County, because I would say united, and yeah. So.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Good to see you.
Yes, you too.
All right, next we have Ayanna Palmore.
Hello, my name is Ayanna Palmore, sometimes known as Donnie, and I was raised in, I now live in Lorton. I'm going to use the word to describe Lorton, at least where I live at, which is in Hagel Circle, underserved.
Underserved. Thank you, Yanni. All right. Now I have Bindu.
Sure. My name is Bindu Mather, and I'm over in the Wellington area. I was just trying to think of a good word, one word to describe it, what we're pretty plain over here, not a lot of diversity. So I'm kind of one of the only over here. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. All right, next we have Brian Jacobs.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Jacobs. I live in the Bellhaven neighborhood of Fairfax County, and I'm also the president of the Bellhaven Citizens Association. And I'll get you on a technicality because I think it's a hyphenated word. We're close-knit.
Close-knit. All right, thank you. All right, we have Miss Kathy.
I'm assuming that's me.
Yes, that's you, the one and only Kathy.
Great. Okay. My video is broken. So luckily you get an actual picture of me. Before I was just a black screen. So I live in the Collingwood Springs neighborhood, and one word I would use to describe my community is friendly.
All right, thank you, Kathy. All right, next we have David Simon.
Hey everyone, David Simon. I'm in Wellington Villa, and I was going to use the word friendly before it was just said, and I'll stick with it.
All right, that's your story. We won't change it. Thank you for joining. Next, we have Ebenezer.
My name is Milka Sedla, and I live in the Mount Vernon townhouses, and then I work in Early Head Start Gum Springland.
Okay, and one word that would you want to describe your community?
Yeah, it's a peaceful and a quiet neighborhood.
All right, thank you for joining. Next, we have Heidi Hernandez.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's good to meet you all. I'm from Fairfax community. Yeah, I want to join CU, and my community is very nice and very good neighborhoods to help together.
All right, thank you, Heidi. All right, next we have Emma.
Hi, my name is Mbabe, or you can call me Emma. I live on Skyview Park community, and I work on Early Head Start Glen Center. One thing describe my community is diverse.
All right, thank you for joining. Next, we have Larry.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Larry Green Jr. I live in Mount Vernon, and I enjoy serving on the Planning and Zoning Committee. One word that actually it's going to be two words that would describe my local community that I live in is Southern Comfort. I grew up in a neighborhood where everyone hung out, everyone spent time together and enjoyed each other's company. And that's actually the neighborhood that I live in right now. So thank you. I'm looking forward to the program.
Thank you, Larry. All right, next we have Marianne Albertson. I'm not sure if you're still on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. You're back on mute.
All right, just wait for them to tell you.
Yes.
I live in the Mount Vernon area, and I work for U.S. Department of Agriculture. I would say I live in a townhouse development, and I would say, and it's more than one word, but kind of all goes together. It's very dog and child friendly.
All right, thank you. Next we have Manya.
Okay, hi, good evening, everyone. And you said it perfectly. I always say Manya like Tanya, so you got it. Thank you. I live in the Pohick Woods community. I'm our HOA president. And Bindi, you can come visit us because we are diverse. All right, I'll turn it back to you. Oh, wait, my husband is here. He wasn't able to get in on the link, so he's been listening in. He's also signed up for the program. Want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Milton Nash.
who are in the same community, what word would you use?
I would use the word nature. I think there's a lot of natural beauty in our immediate area.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for joining. All right. Next, we have Patricia Mirror.
That's correct. I'm Patricia Mirror. I live in Laurel Hill, part of Lorton, and I consider my community transformational and artistic.
All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Next, we have Patricia Ramirez.
Hi, good evening. Patricia Ramirez. I actually don't live in the area. I work in the area. I'm the family engagement rep for Region 3 of FCPS. So that's along that I-1 and Fort Hunt and Mount Vernon area.
All right.
The word I would use to describe that area is resourceful.
All right. Thank you for joining us. All right, next we have Shirley Ann Short.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Shirley Ann Short. I live in the High Blue Valley Woodlawn neighborhood. I can't use just one word. Diverse, divided, underserved.
All right, thank you. All right, we have Suzanne Dash.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Dash. I live in Wellington also, and I would describe our community as informed.
All right, thank you. Thank you for joining. Next, we have Theresa.
Oh, you mean me?
Yes, you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was more than one Theresa. I'm sorry. Okay, my name is Theresa Whiting, and I live in Bellevue, and I'm retired. And my what I would say about Bellevue, oh, it's so homely and friendly.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next we have Taissa Collins.
Good evening, my name is Taissa Collins. I live in the Gum Springs community. And one word, it's gonna be hard, but I would say growing.
All right, thank you, Taissa. And I think I know who this is, the cell phone 516. On your phone.
Yes, Rob Dvorak here.
Hi, Rob. If you give us your name, your community, and one word that describes your community.
Yes, Rob Dvorak. I live in Oak Brook, and the one word is welcoming.
Thank you. All right. And then the next phone number I have, the last 4 digits is 1134.
Hello, my name is Joseph Banks, and I'm in the Highland of Gunston community in Lorton. And one word to describe the community, I think, would be piggyback, because we live in piggyback style townhomes.
All right, thank you for joining. All right, another cell phone number, last 4 digits, 8019.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because it muted me out. I'm Maddie Palmore. I live in the Gum Springs community. I've lived in the Gum Springs, Mount Vernon community for over 40 years. We have a lot of underserved, but community happy people here.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Miss Maddie. And did I get through everyone? Did I miss anyone? If not, you can put it in the chat or let me know. If I apologize, I tried to go through the list and it was really going very fast. It changes around on you very quickly, but I want to make sure we got a chance to introduce, you had an opportunity to introduce yourself. All right, I hope, fingers crossed, that everyone got an opportunity. If not, I do apologize. And just let us know in the chat if you can, and then we would definitely be able to still allow you the opportunity to introduce yourself. So thank you very much. Our note taker for the evening has captured the words that you said, so we are really appreciative for your participation. This will not be the last part of your engagement, trust and believe. But at this time, we're going to move on. And Tori, if you can go ahead and put the slides back up to the next slide. All right, wonderful. At this time, we do have our first presenter of the night, who is our agency director, Mr. Lloyd Tucker. He will give the Fairfax County overview of health and human. And Lloyd, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
All right, you can take it away.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much to Supervisor Stork and to all of our colleagues at NCS and other partners who helped pull this together. And congratulations on being a part of the neighborhood college in Mount Vernon. It's a pleasure to be here and speaking with you all tonight. I'm going to give a brief overview of our health and human services system, as well as an overview of Fairfax County. And at the end of the few slides that I have, I'll hopefully be able to answer any questions that you may have. And if I can't at that time, I'll definitely make sure that we get back to you with the responses that you're looking for. So just a brief history and an overview of Fairfax County. The county was established in 1742. In 1966, it was approved by county voters to be an urban county executive form of government. As most of you all, or probably all of you all know, the county is its day-to-day operations are run by a 10-member board of supervisors, and it delegates the tasks of running the county government to the county executive. We do have 3 constitutional officers within the county: our county attorney, our circuit court or clerk of our circuit court, and the sheriff, as well as our school board members that are directly elected by the voters of Fairfax County. And I'm sorry, I definitely don't want to omit the fact that our 9 board members are elected to represent or 9 of our supervisors are elected to represent our 9 districts, as well as our chairman, who's elected to serve at large with Fairfax County. Next slide, please. Within the Fairfax County, we have truly grown within the Washington, D.C. area. We try to ensure that we're providing the excellence and the soundness for fiscal responsibility and public policy to our constituents. And I think it's also a blessing and to be able to provide full services in the county. We have services such as fire and rescue. Our public transportation is top notch. Our health clinics, our recreation, our resources, libraries, and within the 45 agencies that we have within the county, we all work to try to do the best that we can and be as flexible as possible to meet the needs of community members in partnership with our contractors, as well as private partners in the community and our residents. Fairfax County is also, since Virginia is a Dillon Rule state, Fairfax County government is granted power through the General Assembly of Virginia. So this does impact us in some ways, and it does hinder some of our abilities and opportunities to raise funds and to diversify our tax base. Next slide. Here's a picture of our Board of Supervisors. As you can see, I won't necessarily go through all of them, but down in the left bottom corner, you'll see our very own Supervisor Dan Stork of the Mount Vernon District. Next slide, please. This is a snapshot of the county's, the enterprise of the county's organizational chart. And you'll see I believe it's red circle around towards the bottom of the screen that is highlighting our human service deputy county executive. Thank you. But also, as you can see, the residents are at the top of our chart, as well as leading to our elected officials under them, our Board of Supervisors. And then our school board, excuse me. And then, of course, our county executive, who is responsible for, like I mentioned, the operationalizing of the board's policies and other actions that they wish to put in place on behalf of the residents of Fairfax County, Mr. Brian Hill. Other positions or folks that I would like to highlight before I go back to Human Services and our Deputy County Executive are Carla Bruce, our Chief Equity Officer, is on here. Of course, our Chief Financial Officer and new Chief Financial Officer is Christina Jackson. Planning and Development, Deputy County Executive is Rachel Flynn. And our new Deputy County Executive for Administrative Services is Alicia Seard McCormick. Back to the highlighted red section, however, is our Deputy County Executive over Human Services, Chris Leonard. And I'll get into the agencies that he manages within the scope of his leadership in just a minute. Next slide, please. Within Fairfax County Human Services, we want to make sure that we are creating opportunities for our families and for individuals to be safe and healthy and realize their potential. And along with that mission and our espoused beliefs, we also want to make sure that we're following our vision, which is to understand that we are the foundation of thriving people and communities. And I just want to add that within that vision and that mission, it's not just Fairfax County, and I'll get to it a little bit later, but it's not just Fairfax County human service agencies that are providing these services and meeting this mission and vision and living by these guiding principles, but it's also our interfaith community. It's also our nonprofit community and other partners that we have throughout the county. And in particular, our residents, as I mentioned before. Our guiding principles kind of speak for themselves, but we want to articulate and to share that we definitely believe we will succeed by ensuring that we use our resources judiciously. We want to use a root cause approach to understanding issues and trends and concerns that come up in the community and not necessarily just address the symptoms that we're seeing. We want to make sure that we are receiving and considering our investment and opportunities when it comes to making decisions. And then, of course, promoting equity and creating a platform and an equal and shared space at the table for those vulnerable people in our community to be able to have their voice and their values heard. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, Chris Leonard is our Deputy County Executive of the Health and Human Services organization. Under his purview or scope of management are the Fairfax Falls Church Community Services Board, Also our Department of Family Services, Health Department, Housing and Community Development, Public Libraries, which is new. They just joined the Health and Human Services organization perhaps 2 or 3 months ago. Juvenile and Domestic Relation District Court, as well as Park Authority, which is also new. Department of Neighborhood and Community Services, a big shout out to NCS. And then he serves as the liaison to the Reston Community Centers and McLean Community Center. Next slide, please. And actually, if you could go back to the previous slide, I'm sorry. Thank you. Within the human service system, I just wanted to highlight that we do have just north of 4,000 staff within this area, and our budget is approximately $800 million. As I mentioned before, as I read, as you see on the screen, we have 8 agencies, and the 2 standalone community centers, which are Reston Community Center and McLean. Our deputy county exec serves as liaison, and those are particularly highlighted because they are in special tax districts in McLean and in Reston. But within the health and human service system, some of the services that we provide throughout these 8 agencies are income assistance, of course, health needs, childcare assistance, housing needs, crisis intervention, other support services. Within the CSB, we provide services for people who experience behavioral health needs, including mental health and substance abuse disorders and co-occurring disorders and other developmental disabilities. DFS, or Department of Family Services, provides services and prevention to strengthen the well-being of our children, adults, and families through different assistance and services available through mandated state programs and benefits, as well as federal. The Health Department, of course, protects, promotes, and improves the health and quality of life within Fairfax County. They do this through protecting the public against environmental hazards, epidemics, and they've done a knockout job of helping to protect us and truly be progressive in our fight against COVID. Despite the unfortunate losses of life and folks who have acquired or been or who have had COVID-19, our health department has led the nation in helping us become one of the highest vaccinated counties in the country, and it truly is a credit to their strategic thinking and their mobilization of resources and coordination throughout the county and in the health and human service system and in the community with our partners such as Safeway and CVS and Inova and Walgreens. So they've done a tremendous job. And with our interfaith community, for those who have helped to stand up vaccine clinics in our churches and houses of worship. HCD, or Housing and Community Development, works to not just prevent homelessness, but also provides and administers affordable housing development, housing preservation, and resident assistance programs. JDRDC, or Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court, helps to hear cases involving juveniles, crimes against our juveniles, and family matters, except for divorce. And of course, our within neighborhood and community services, we work to promote families the well-being of families and our individuals in the community, and provide a variety of recreational, educational, and developmental programs and services to support our residents in the county. Next slide, please. Thank you. And again, I won't spend too much time on this slide, but here's just another snapshot of the directors of the agencies and the community centers that we liaise with, and also a picture of our Deputy County Executive, Chris Leonard, who is the manager of this scope of organization in health and human services. Next slide. Within Fairfax County Health and Human Service regions, we also break the county up strategically into 4 human service regions. This is necessary due to the size of the county, the population, and the focus of ensuring that we provide equitable access to services to our community residents. Health and Human Services, this map also helps to identify the supervisor districts that are overlaid or that align with the 4 Health and Human Service regions. And if you take a look down at the bottom right, the southeast quadrant of the map, you'll see that we have Human Service Region 1 that encompasses of course, Mount Vernon District and the current lead district as well. Next slide, please. Within Health and Human Services, we also have 6 strategic focus areas. These focus areas truly help us to strategize our work, help us to come up with metrics and ways to categorize what we do together across the health and human service system. It includes connected individuals, economic self-sufficiency, healthy people, sustainable housing, positive living for older adults and individuals with disabilities, and successful children and youth. Next slide. Within the health and human service system, as I mentioned before, we could not do this work, and we do not do this work on our own. Our partners such as FCPS, our nonprofit or CBO community, as well as our faith-based community and organizations play such a huge role in the work that gets done and accomplished on behalf and for our community residents. Not to mention the many thousands of volunteers that provide sweat equity, millions of dollars worth of sweat equity for the county on their volunteer time, as well as our business community partners that help so much. And a big part of the interfaith and the community-based networks that's so important. Number one is that their ability to mobilize their congregations, their parishes, their participants and customers, but also their ability to be flexible and nimble when it comes to crises such as pandemics like we're dealing with now with COVID and other environmental issues or challenges that we're having. So we couldn't do any of this work without our nonprofit, interfaith, and business and volunteer community. Next slide, please. I mentioned that Carla Bruce is our Chief Equity Officer for Fairfax County. And her largest role is to work across all 45 agencies, BACs, and the business community, the interfaith community, the school system, or with the school system, as well as our nonprofits, to ensure that we are adopting, that we are implementing, and that we are practicing and living by the One Fairfax policy. And this is a policy that was declared back in 2017 or put into place by the Board of Supervisors that commits the county and schools to intentionally consider equity when making policies or delivering programs and services. And this has been a tremendous guide and new way of, I don't think it's a new way of thinking, but it's a paradigm that we've been practicing for a while, at least in NCS and across the health and human service system. But we were definitely proud and elated when it became adopted as policy and passed as policy by the Board of Supervisors and the school board in 2017. Next slide, please. This slide shows you a picture of some of the drivers of our work, some of the guiding frameworks that help us to make decisions based on input, based on feedback, based on research and data collected and analyzed from the community and by the community. Of course, we have the countywide strategic plan. We have the needs assessment, or the Health and Human Service needs assessment, and we have the vulnerability index that was created in recent years to help us make decisions based on COVID-19 and looking at our vulnerabilities and gaps in service and where we needed to be intentional and target to deliver services. Next slide, please. Within our countywide strategic plan, we have 10 community outcome areas that back in 2019, 2020, the community came together through several focus groups, town halls, online surveys, in-person surveys, and provided the county with direction, feedback, input, with over 250,000 responses to surveys and to these town halls and focus groups. Almost a 250,000 of responses from the community that helped to guide the development of these 10 community outcome areas. And I'll just run through those and won't necessarily get into the strategies that are bulleted here, but the community spoke and shared their thoughts about the need for cultural and recreational opportunities, economic opportunity, how we need to become a more effective and efficient government. What was really huge was the information that we gathered through the engagement process to talk about and for us to learn even more about how the county needs to organize our resources in order to empower and support our residents who are most vulnerable. The environment was a huge priority. Our health, of course, housing and livability, lifelong education and learning, mobility and transportation, and safety and security. Next slide, please. The current human service needs assessment is done, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe every 2 years. And it helps us to develop a shared understanding of the needs in the community and the conditions that exists and how they impact our lives, the lives of individuals and families and community members, and what different types of challenges that they face. So this is definitely a very important and necessary tool that, once again, through focusing on engagement and reception of information and feedback from the community, it helps us to put together and drive our decision-making when it comes to health and human service agencies to ensure that we're providing the resources to help create a thriving environment in the county. Next slide, please. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the vulnerability index was created as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak. But it's a interactive GIS tool that helps us to understand those areas of vulnerability throughout the county. Like I said, it specifically looks at the COVID-19 impacts and where we can target interventions and resources in response and to help with our recovery efforts. The vulnerability index shows 5 different domains, and within the index, it highlights the socioeconomic status, household composition and disability, race, ethnicity, and language, housing and transportation, and health indexes. Next slide, please. Other strategic initiatives that, strategic initiatives that the Health and Human Service system runs, collaborates on, partners to put forward with our sister agencies, the 8 agencies that I mentioned earlier, as well as the interfaith community, the community business organizations like our nonprofits, as well as businesses are the 50+ plan, our Diversion First plan, which is it's an initiative that offers alternatives to incarceration for people with mental illness and co-occurring substance abuse disorders. And it helps to intervene whenever possible to provide assessment, treatment, or needed support to prevent encounters with the criminal justice system and to promote a safer community and enhance our public safety. Another example of our strategic initiatives I'll just point out is our opioid task force. And as you all may be aware, we've had an increase and huge uptick in the abuse of opioid opioid use and abuse. And with the epidemic continuing to grow and impact COVID during the pandemic, our health district from January through September of 2020, there were 101 fatal drug overdoses. And of those, 78 involved opioids. In addition, there were 271 emergency department visits because of opioid overdoses in 2020. So this task force supports the county's investment in providing $1.43 million in opioid task force prevention and intervention resources. Next slide, please. So trying to connect this large system of resources within the Health and Human Services system. If you visit our website, it's a great place for you to go to land and to use as a platform to try to gather or understand the information related to applying for benefits, for basic needs assistance, behavioral health support, public health clinics, and more. Our webpage our COVID-19 webpage is also robust and could serve as a great resource to many, including as well our vaccine dashboard. That's very informative down in the left corner. If you're seeking more information that wasn't necessarily covered in this presentation or that you don't see when you do visit our websites, like for eviction prevention or through DFS's assistance from a distance, please don't hesitate to call us for more information or to visit fairfaxcounty.gov/health-human services. That concludes my portion of the program tonight, or this presentation. I want to thank you all again for your time and for your attendance. This definitely speaks to the dedication and the drive that you have to not just learn more about the Mount Vernon District or Fairfax County as a whole, but also based on the explanation of the practicum and what the expectations are after this. It definitely shows that you're committed to learning, to building an awareness, and then sharing that learning and capacity building within your neighborhoods and your communities. So again, thank you so much. And I want to thank once again the NCS, my NCS colleagues for having me. And if you have any more questions, please ask Paul Woods, Keisha Gill, Norma Lopez, Katina Matthews, Letishma Walters, or Solomon. And since Sarah's name is on here also, I will not say email Sarah Allen, but you can email myself, Lloyd Tucker, at lloyd.tucker@fairfaxcounty.gov if you have any specific questions for me. But Katina, do I have time for questions?
Absolutely. And there's one person that did wanted to know if you could explain more about how the Board of Supervisors and County Executive work. You're on mute.
Sorry. So as I mentioned, the Board of Supervisors is our elected board and represents, if I do the math correctly, and we have 9 districts and just above 1.2, almost 1.3 million folks, they each represent roughly 110,000 constituents throughout the county, roughly. And we also have an at-large board member who is the chairman, Chairman McKay. And the elected officials in the board set the vision, they set the goals, the strategies, the policies for the priorities for the county on behalf of our constituents that elect or vote them into office. And what the county executive, Brian Hill, does is he operationalizes or he puts into action the policies that they have put forward and adopted. He operationalizes or he supervises the directors of each one of the agencies that runs county services on behalf of the board and the and our constituents. So, for example, I work in neighborhood and community services. So our county executive understands that, through the strategic plan, through policy and direction that the board has given them, that everyone should have equitable access to, cultural and recreational activities and resources. So in NCS, through recreation, we'll provide that vehicle for before and after school programs, out of school time programs on the weekends. We provide senior center programs for our older adults, fast train buses that provide paratransit to community members, dialysis trips, and so on. And then we also provide, like I said, the opioid support through NCS prevention, as well as partner with CSB to help put those services and resources into action, and all of that through the board guidance and policy and priorities that they set, and the direction of the county executive. But as he gives us kind of direction to work together across agencies, to work with the community and the nonprofits, the faith-based community, we need to make sure that we are hitting the metrics and the objectives that the board has identified as their priorities, and that the county executive has asked us to put in place or to meet in order to change the conditions and the behaviors that are impacting success or some of the opportunities in our community. So I hope I explained that correctly, but he receives his direction and guidance from the elected officials. And I'm not sure if Supervisor Stork is still on, but or on one of his staff. But if I got that wrong, it's fine to correct me. But the county exec definitely gets his direction from the priorities that the board sets.
Thank you, Lord. Are there any more questions that, okay, I see a hand raised. Theresa?
Yes, I wanted to ask, I understand, I think I understand, Mr. Tucker, that all of these nonprofits, faith-based and community organizations, along with the county, but how do the citizens get assessed to see if what all of these organizations are doing are really effective, or if there needs to be any changes or modifications, or it just needs to continue? How do the residents get an input starting at the high level, working all the way down?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. And please call me Lloyd. So the way that the community shares their voice and takes advantage of opportunities to say whether or not they think things are working or not is, of course, through processes like we had with the strategic plan. You either provide your feedback through surveys or through different town hall meetings to let us know if things are working, if they aren't, let us know if things are successful, as well as through exercises like the budget testimony and other venues that the board or departments, that the board of supervisors or our boards, authorities, and commissions have. Like in human services, we have the Health and Human Services Committee. And what they do is 2 years ago, just before COVID, they went out and they received feedback about the human service. Oh my goodness, it escapes me right now. Not the needs assessment, but our resource plan. And in order to move forward with what priorities are working, the Human Service Council obtained feedback in Region 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pretty great turnouts from those engagements. And folks came out and said, hey, this is a priority for me, or hey, this isn't working. So this is where we think we need to inform the human service budget priorities. But it truly is a exercise or an opportunity for folks to come out and have their voices heard. And I think one of the big things now, ma'am, that's truly going to help us to ensure that people's voices are heard, not just at our Board of Supervisors meetings and public hearings, or our BAC, which stands for Board, Authority, and Commission meetings, but to physically come out. But now we're offering hybrid meetings. The Board the Board of Supervisors has become experts at having community members and residents be able to call in or to Zoom or participate virtually. And we're trying to push the envelope to get more capability through a public participation platform that will provide another avenue for our constituents to give their opinions, their feedback, criticisms, comments, through publicinput.com, which is an enterprise-wide platform that we just invested in for all agencies across the county. So you'll be able to have even more capability to have real-time input and feedback on police issues, on recreation issues, transportation, all of those things that may impact you, or that you may have a passion or a need to comment or to give feedback on how it's going.
Okay, great. I hope that system comes up so everyone has an opportunity to participate, Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, Katina?
I didn't see anything else in the chat. If anyone else wants to raise their hand or take yourself off mute. And Letitia also put, Lord, your email in the chat for reference, or if anyone else has any further questions after the session tonight. So if you look into the chat, Lloyd's email is in the chat as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to thank you all for allowing me this time to participate with you and to present to you tonight. And with my email that Letitia just posted, don't hesitate to drop me an email if you have any more questions for me. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you for presenting and for being here tonight. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, moving along on our agenda tonight, we have one more presentation. Ms. Nandrit Navarro, who is my counterpart in Health and Human Services Region 2, which you saw in the map earlier. She's going to be going over our first community engagement leadership exercise entitled Leadership and Leadership Styles. Nandrit?
Yes, well, good evening, everyone. And again, thank you so much for being here and participating in this neighborhood college. So again, my name is Nandret Navarro, and I am a community developer for Region 2 on Neighborhood and Community Services. The presentation that we're going to have is going to be on leadership and leadership styles. This activity helps people to understand and value different kinds of leadership and to discover their own strengths and challenges as a leader, which they can then apply to their team or group setting. Next slide, please. So I know that here tonight, we have a wealth of knowledge. So if you could help define leadership, and so if you can use the chat to type, how do you define leadership? So I'll give you a minute. So in few words, what is your definition of leadership?
And while people are putting that in the chat, Leon will be helping us to read those along with you, Nandrit.
Yes, so I see that Kathy Hosek defines us as taking the lead in a situation and forming the vision of the project. It's a great definition. Anyone else? The ability to inspire others to do something good for the collective, represent stakeholders. Good communicator. Okay, anyone else? Influencer, great. Someone who listens. Yes, good listener. Being the head of a project, goals, team, etc., the function of providing direction and requires resources and leads by example. Perfect. So those are great definitions. Could I have the next slide, please? So yes, leadership is bringing out the best in others to get the job done. And that's why we have that picture of a team. So in a nutshell, you can define it like this, and also, the ways that you shared are also very on point. So we're going to explore a little further. Next slide, please. So what are the reasons why people follow a leader? So there's a model developed by John Maxwell explaining the reasons why people follow a leader. And basically they do it because they have to. They have no other choice. It's either someone that was, elected, or someone that is supervising us, or a boss, etc. Because they like the leader, what they represent. They like, the fact that the leader delivers. So it comes through with the promises, it carries projects through. The leader helps them grow. So, it's a good coach, it's a mentor. And they basically like who the leader is and what she represents or he represents. So these are some of the reasons, simplified, of why people tend to follow a leader. So next slide, please. So again, we're going to have an activity of, taking 2 minutes to think of a person in your life who you see as an effective leader, and then make a short list of some of their characteristics. So I see that you share some, you touched on some of them, like good listener, good coach, but think of someone that you admire for being a good leader, and then describe what are those traits that make them so effective. Future thinker, calm, focused action. Somebody wrote. Collaborative. Personable, yes, excellent. Considerate, competent, and collaborative, genuine, inclusive. Works hard to bring out the best in others. Patient, competent, and professional. Motivational. Excellent. Next slide, please. Human. Yes. So these are the top leadership traits, and a lot of you mentioned some of these. So yes, people would like for a leader to have strong communication skills, being able to, convey the message. Honesty, of course, somebody that is transparent. Confidence, so that, it inspires others, that carry themselves in a way to motivate others. Passionate and optimistic, goal-oriented, accountable. So, being able to promise something and getting things done. Lifelong learner, which means it's a leader that is humble and is able to understand that, we every day have to learn something, and especially to be effective at what we choose to do. Motivational, a good coach. Flexible, which is, in the current times that we have been through with this pandemic, being flexible for a leader has been key in order to pivot, going in this crisis together with everybody else that you're trying to motivate, and yet being able to be successful carrying projects. And inclusive, being inclusive to everyone. So again, valuing what it is, the wealth of diversity, and making sure that there is consensus and that no one is left out. So next slide, please. So to further, analyze a little bit about the different styles of leadership and traits, there's a design for understanding individual differences and group strengths. And so we're going to use the medicine wheel. The medicine wheel is an instrument, it's a tool, and it comes to us from Native American culture. Its purpose is to provide us with an interesting way of looking at individual differences and similarities. This particular presentation of the medicine wheel is based on traditions of the Lakota Indian people, interpreted to assist us in understanding how diversity impacts on teamwork. The medicine wheel calls on elements of natural world, which describe 4 different styles of interacting with each other and our own. The major compass directions differentiate the styles, and each has an animal, a color, and a season associated with it. So next slide. So here we have the medicine wheel, and as you can see, it has 4 quadrants. As I mentioned before, this is something that the Native Americans utilized, and they use it for many different teachings. So as I said, it is a tool. And here they try to teach us how there are different styles of leadership. And they divided it, like they said, according to different to the different compass directions. So we have the buffalo in the north, which is the warrior, and is associated with the winter and the color white. It is a driver, leader, quick to act, challenges others, probes and expresses urgency to others. So those are the traits of the buffalo. Then we have the eagle, which is the visionary, is to the east, is associated with the spring, with yellow, sees the big picture, idea-oriented, future-focused, develops solutions creatively, and is a divergent thinker. Then we have the deer, which is the humanist. And the deer is towards the south, associated with the summer, with the red, and it tends to be supportive, trusting of others, invites others in, accepting of others' face value, allows others to feel important, concerned with the process, establishes relationships to accomplish tasks. And then, last but not least, we have the bear, which is the judge, associated with the west, with the autumn. And they tend to be thinkers, keepers of tradition, relies heavily on data and logic, thorough, methodical, and follow systems and procedures. So these are all the gifts that these different leadership, the animals, those symbols have. And as you can see, they are very different and they complement each other. So that is the beauty of, having diversity, that, one can complement each other. So take a minute and analyze these descriptions and see if you can choose one animal in the quadrant, and then type which animal you chose to identify yourself. So if you can do that, please, and put it in the chat. That would be great. Okay, so we have a bear, eagle, bear, deers, buffalo, deers, eagles. We have another bear, eagles, we have another deer here. I wasn't ready yet. Could we go back? Yes, thank you. So great. So now we have seen, most of you, I see a lot of deers, so some bears, but we can see all the diversity that this group already has. Now, this other medicine wheel is showing us the traits when it's not well balanced, when it's in excess. So we have the buffalo, and when the buffalo is not in check, and when it's not well balanced, it tends to be autocratic, defensive, pushes others beyond limits, and it may be sometimes not aware of feelings. The eagle could tend to lose the energy on task, maybe has struggled with time handling, with boundaries, difficulty, not detail-oriented, lack of dependability, sometimes held in clouds or overwhelmed. Then the deer, the humanist, could have trouble saying no and assuming blame, easily disappointed if relationships are second to task, easily taken advantage of, therefore. And then the bear could tend to be stubborn, entrenched in position, collects unneeded information sometimes, resist emotional pleas, withdrawn, and could resist change and being undecisive. So when we see these, what the Native Americans try to explain and the way they see it is that all personality traits, all of us, the way they like to teach this, is that we all have little rascals, they call it. So in our personalities, we have great traits, but then we have rascals, as they refer to. And then those rascals are the ones that tend to take us out of balance. So, so if we have a great trait, if we don't pay attention to those little rascals that we may have in our personality, then it's out of balance. So it is important to be aware of, our traits and the traits that could be also not well balanced and then cause us trouble when we are trying to function in a team and when we are trying to motivate others and be leaders. So next slide, please. So basically, as a reflection, utilizing the medicine wheel, we have a set of questions here. And so, just taking in consideration which animal did we ended up choosing, and who did we identify with in that wheel, and then think how would you, how to use those preferences in the preferences of that we chose to work in our work or in the community or in any leadership role that we have, because we have different sets in our lives, either it is our personal life or, at work or with friends, we have different relationships. So it's important to know, how does that work when we're interacting with others? And what are the ways that we can maybe alter those preferences and, those traits that we have so that we are much more effective with working with others. And then what do people need to know about, our styles to work much more effectively with us? So next slide, please. So here we have, hold on just a second. Okay, so in a nutshell, leadership is the process of providing vision, direction, and inspiration. Vision is giving people a sense of purpose and focus. Commitment to a vision comes from various means to continuously keep people focused on the vision and why getting there is so important. Direction is clarifying goals, what needs to be done, values, how things need to be done, and prioritize what is more important. And then inspiration is motivating people to meet the challenge, valuing and encouraging people to be their best, recognizing accomplishments, championing changes, and being an example worthy of others. And that was touched in one of the traits that you guys wrote in the chat. And so, yes, in a nutshell, leadership is bringing out the best in others to get the job done. And I believe that's all for today. And if you have any questions.
Thanks, Nandrit. I saw a lot of the animals of the bears and the eagles. I didn't see too many buffaloes. So, and I see we have a few responses in the chat. Kathy, she said, yeah, she sees herself in that because it's hard to say no. So I agree with you on that as well. Does anyone have any questions for Nandrit in regards to her presentation or about some of the content she shared? The medicine wheel is definitely a tool that has definitely brought awareness to being able to see some of our leadership styles. It's not to say that you are the animal or some people have a little bit of characteristics from here and that and the other, but it's just an opportunity to see ourselves in a different view in regards to how we lead, but also how we are part of a team and how we can best serve when we are looking at opportunities to bring about advocacy, community change, or working on different teams and councils and with organizations or with our own HOAs, being able to use those and implement those to better our efforts and our objectives in our community and as well as in other areas that we serve. So are there any questions? You can raise your hand or put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Then Nandrit, that means you did an excellent job, okay?
Yes, well, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for having me and participating.
Thank you, Nandrit. We appreciate you. And if you do have anything, please go ahead and you can put it in the chat if you have the capabilities. I know some people are on their phone. You all do have my email address, so you can always email me for feedback, or if you have any further questions about anything that was presented tonight. I would just put a disclaimer in there that you will be getting the presentation and the slides after each session. You can catalog them. You can use them for future reference and go back if you have any insight or you just can't remember what was said. Like I said, I know some people are on their mobile device tonight. So we definitely will send this out to you. And then you'll be able to share that with any groups or organizations or teams that you serve as well. So we appreciate the fact that our guest presenters are on tonight to be able to share this valuable information with us. And I don't think anything else is in the chat. Letitia, have you seen anything else?
I don't see anything else in the chat, Katina. I'm looking, but I don't see anything else.
Okay. All right. Next slide, Tori. So before we wrap up, just wanted to give a few highlights of tonight's presentations. If you heard from our Agency Director of Neighborhood and Community Services, Lori Tucker, who gave an overview of Fairfax County and the Health and Human Services System. We also received a presentation tonight on our leadership and leadership styles by Nandrit Navarro. And again, the slides will be sent to you by email. If you do not have access to be able to print them out or to refer back, just send me email. My email address is listed here on this particular slide. And that way we can get them to you if you would like them mailed or any other opportunity. I would say that with our practicum, we are excited. We just came off the heels of the Braddock District Neighborhood College. And when I tell you, the presentations were awesome, awesome, awesome. So we look forward to you being able to look at the list. I will send that after tonight's session. So that way you can take a look at the suggested list. And of course, if you have a suggestion on your own that you would like to share with me, please let me know. I am asking for everyone to send me their practicum title. You will be able to have an opportunity to say first, second, and third choice. And what I would like to do is, even though when we do this in person, we try to match everyone up based upon the identified themes of the practicum. So that way you can work together. I know it's a little bit harder in virtual world, but I know in the Braddock District, we did have some participants that joined together to work on their practicum, and that was an awesome opportunity. It allows for collaboration and networking, but again, I will try to match you all up based upon your practicum to be able to assist one another if you so choose. And I think that's a great opportunity for you as well to get to know your neighbors in our Mount Vernon district or our surrounding area. So we appreciate that opportunity. Again, we appreciate you. We know we had a couple of hiccups tonight. As mentioned in my many emails with the Zoom, please make sure that you do try to log on or sign in prior to the meeting on Thursday to ensure that if Zoom has any updates, that you are aware of that, because apparently there's a lot of updates going on with Zoom. So we want to make sure that that you all have the ability and the access to join us. But for the most part, we do appreciate you. Also mentioning about our practicum, we have been in communication with the Supervisor Stork's staff, and we are anticipating of having our last session, which is on June 9th, in person. So that would be a huge celebration for us to come together to hear your practicum and presentations for those who are able to. And we will also have some goodies for you. But we ask that you just continue to plan when you see the practicum list to choose what you would like to do as far as your presentation and your research. And you will have those questions that Jennifer mentioned earlier in regards to some highlights. Your practicum presentation is only expected to be 5 to 7 minutes, if that. And you can choose to do a PowerPoint. We can definitely make copies if you need to share, since we'll be in person, as well as the opportunity to share it with our participants who may not be able to do in person, but we'll have those available, more information at available date. We hope that you truly enjoyed yourself tonight. I truly enjoyed myself for finally being able to see most of you face to face, because I've been interacting with you through email and phone calls. With that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to Letitia.
Oh, thank you, Katina. And I'm gonna ask Tori, can you drop the presentation for me so I can see the faces before we dismiss everyone? Thank you. So, we are at the end of the first evening. I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the presenters and the staff that has helped, but really thank you to you guys for being engaged in this process. I think I see Yanni in her car. So, and I know some of you, but I want to say, I'm looking forward to the next 7 weeks, because this is the first week, the next 7 weeks, and getting to know you better. So thank you guys for participating. As we said in the housekeeping, we want to start on time, we're going to try to end on time, and tonight we're even ending early. So really, again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next week, Thursday. Again, thank you for your engagement, and have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.